The Financial Navigator Initiative provided emergency response to residents who are dealing with the economic fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic, providing remote assistance, navigating critical financial resources, and making referrals to other social services and resources. In 2023, the city was selected to receive technical assistance to launch a financial empowerment center. This opportunity allowed us to expand and deepen our partnership with the CFE Fund. Funding from ARPA, the CFE Fund, and African American Mayors Association are making this initiative possible. I'd also like to thank Mayor Sean Patterson Howard and her administration for prioritizing the strategic investment in the FEC. Under the mayor's leadership, the city has launched initiatives focused on community revitalization, sustainability, and equity. Through the FEC, the city will be able to partner to better create a more inclusive economy. Thank you.
Excited to be here with you this morning. As Sylvia said, we've been working with the city's understood the ravaging effect And we received an initial grant of, I believe, $80,000. We partnered with the Urban League and then the United Way to create a hotline about foreclosure prevention. And these were was at which empowerment public benefit. We are in this with partnership with the county. And so thank you to our County Executive Latimer, our Congressman-elect. As we continue to partner, we are grateful to Mercy University for partnering with us in this endeavor. So Mercy University, no longer Mercy College, just growing up. We continue to advance, partnering with the Westchester Putnam Workforce Board, the Westchester County Department of Social Services. And so this is all about collaboration. We have private partners here through our banks who understand the importance of not just financial literacy, but providing ongoing financial counseling to people regardless of your income. Sometimes when we have greater incomes, you might be able to pay for this private service, right? But then also if you have great debt, it becomes very hard. And when you don't have a lot of money, you can't afford to pay for it. So this Financial Empowerment Center is here for people of all income levels. It's not just for those who are below a certain income or in poverty, and it's not just for those who are wealthy, but for them and everyone in between. And that is something that makes this model so significant. So the city has dedicated $510,000 in American Rescue Plan funds. So we want to thank the federal government, because without that investment in helping to rescue the communities from financial distress, then we would not have been able to turn around and put these finances into the Financial Empowerment Center. I already said CFE is giving us $150,000 for the launch of this. And then the African American Mayors Association, which I had the proud pleasure of serving as president, gave us $30,000. And we'll continue to look for national and regional partners and local partners who will continue to invest, right? Hint, hint, local partners in government, to continue to invest in this very worthwhile endeavor. We have here professionally trained counselors, and our president of Mercy will talk more about the staff that they've hired, but these are professionally trained counselors to help residents manage their finances, to pay down debt, to increase savings, establish and build credit, and access safe and affordable mainstream banking products. And that's very important because in many of our communities, we're dealing with a lot of predatory lending and payday loans, and that just keeps people stuck in a cycle of poverty and lack. As of today, there are 52 cities and counties with operational financial empowerment centers. No, oh, there are cities. But we are, so this is confusing. Jurisdictions, okay. There are 52 jurisdictions and counties with operational financial empowerment centers or that are actively planning an FEC. But we, Mount Vernon, are the 35th FEC in the nation, not the state, but in the nation to launch as of today. So can we get a round of applause for that? I wouldn't mind being 35 again. So currently there are 3 financial empowerment centers here in the state of New York, and that is Rochester, Syracuse, and New York City. And we know they are part of the big 5, but Mount Vernon, we're not a huge city like them, but we understand that our residents still are challenged with huge issues as you are in bigger cities, and that's why we're making this investment. We're thankful again to the partnership with CFE, Westchester Putnam Career Center, and Mercy University. This partnership will allow us to really provide this very crucial service to our residents. And as I said, we'll also serve people from other Westchester County municipalities. Across the United States, the FECs have already launched counselors where counselors are already working. They've worked with over 142,000 clients. And the 142,000 clients is really interesting, but they've helped them to reduce individual debt by $211 million. $211 million of debt reduction, right? And so that's serious. And I thought about it as I was sitting there. I said, I want to kind of divide 142, into that 211 and see about what that average is. But that's significant. And I'm sure that our residents and those in our surrounding communities will benefit. They've also helped families increase their savings by more than $43 million. So we're reducing debt and we are increasing savings. And that is really important. Again, this is free financial counseling, and this is even more critical now than it's ever been before. Our residents are continuing to grapple with the fallout of COVID-19 and inflation that were caused by the pandemic. The Mount Vernon FEC will provide services offered in person here at the center, remotely via telephone or Zoom. And so if people are unable, the winter weather won't stop you, or the hot heat won't stop you, or if you're home with a bad leg or a bad back, it still won't stop you from getting the services, because one thing that COVID taught us is that we can provide in-person and remote services, and they are just as valuable. And so I'm really grateful for that innovation that provides, that help to residents who may not always be able to get here. Residents can access this service by scheduling an appointment online through the FEC website at Mount Vernon, spelled out, MOUNTVERNON, FEC.org, because most people will just make it MT, but it's fully spelled out.org. You can also call 914, 813-7335, 914-813-7335. And we always want to make sure that we are ensuring equitable access for residents with jobs that do not have benefit of paid time off during the week. So services will also be available some evenings as well as Saturdays. Again, we wanted to make sure that this was equitable and accessible to all who need it, regardless of your schedule, and some of the not everyone has that privilege of being able to leave their job in the middle of the day. So 9 to 5 services do not always work. So we're glad for availability in the evenings and on some Saturdays. At the core of the FEC model is the integration of counseling into other social services and support programs, including housing and foreclosure prevention, workforce development, prisoner reentry, benefits and access to benefits, domestic violence services, and more. And so I am really grateful to our community partners, from our colleges to our banks to our domestic violence partners to our workforce development partners to our reentry and reintegration partners, that will help us to provide additional services, because very rarely is it just an issue of money, but it's money and. It's I'm lacking money, but I need a better job. I'm lacking money and I'm dealing with foreclosure or eviction. I need to set a new life because I'm leaving an abusive relationship. I'm returning home and I need to learn how to work in this economy and to tap in and get new skills. I have a good job and I have a home, but I'm struggling. I was raised and I didn't necessarily know how to budget. right? And so people can make over $100,000 or $200,000, but if you were not taught budgeting skills, if you were not taught the importance of a budget and wealth and building wealth, and so many of us over the years have tried to keep up with the Joneses, and even when you're talking about one of the challenges we have as municipalities is a lot of our employees depend on their overtime. They count their overtime as part of their base salary. And it's not just municipal employees. People do it all over. So they're like, oh, I make $100,000 a year, but I get about $30,000 a year of overtime, and I'm just expecting to continue to get that. And things change, and then people are without money, right? And so we want to make sure that people are learning how to budget, and that they're learning how to live on a little bit less so that they can build up reserves and savings for emergencies. The city will work closely with the FEC to ensure that vulnerable populations are able to access this free public service. So I'm going to shift a little bit because, we have to talk about the reality of the time. And as of today, here in the city of Mount Vernon, there are 2,620 residences that are behind on their water utility bill, right? So water utility bills, our Con Ed bills continue to go up, and you don't get to argue when Con Ed goes up. And a lot of people don't argue when their cable bill goes up or your cell phone bill goes up. But, you don't always have control over these costs, and that can shift what you have available to you. In addition, there are 789 parcels of homeowners here in Mount Vernon that have tax arrears here in the city. And we don't want people to lose their homes. Right, and so I need to say this, if people don't hear anything else, and I'm gonna look directly at the camera, if people don't understand anything else, this Financial Empowerment Center is not about judging you. It is about having a safe place where we can provide confidential and competent and equitable and accessible services so that you, regardless of your income or your background or your financial situation, can come and get the help you need. The only time you won't be able to get the help is if you are too proud and you stay home because you worried that someone is judging you. These are private services. There are many other services that are provided in this space. And so if you come in here, people cannot assume that you have a financial issue. You might be coming to get other services or maybe even to volunteer and invest in some of the services that are here. But don't allow pride to keep you at home, because if you are behind on your bills, if you are behind on your taxes for your home, if you're behind on your car payments, if you're behind on your students' tuition, your children's tuition, then eventually it's going to become a matter of public knowledge if your car is repossessed, if your home is foreclosed on, if your children are no longer able to go to private school because you don't have the money to continue to send them. So don't let pride keep you home. This is a non-judgment space. It is free, it is accessible, it is equitable, and counseling services are provided by qualified, certified, credentialed, competent counselors that you would usually have to pay for, but we're providing free. Our goal will be to have Mount Vernon FEC work with as many people in these households as possible to help them create a path to financial stability. And our community partners have been a very integral part of the successful launch of the Financial Empowerment Center. Early in our process, we established an FEC advisory board with 21 member organizations to ensure that FEC focused on the vulnerable populations they serve. Today, I want to thank 36 of the organizations that are partnering with us on this important initiative. Can we have a round of applause for our partners? There are additional organizations that are here in the audience today that I'm sure will join in this endeavor, because people love to join success, right? These organizations will play a vital role in the continued success of the FEC, and the list of the organizations can be found on our Mount Vernon FEC website. So again, I really encourage anyone. Some of us in the room might need to use the service, and then we have family and friends and frenemies and neighbors that we might want to use the service as well. But we also want to help people learn how to build wealth. If you're impoverished, then you can move to working class poor. If you're working class poor, let's put together a plan to get you to the middle class. If you're middle class, let's get you to upper middle class. And if you're upper middle class, then let's start to develop and build a plan for wealth, right? Because that is how our communities are going to strive, not just strive, but thrive. We don't want to just be in survival mode. We want to thrive and be fully successful. And so with that being said, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, our wonderful county executive and Congressman-elect, Mr. George Latimer, a son of Mount Vernon.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and the fingerprints of your leadership are everywhere here in this and in other programs. This is an important day, and I think, as she's pointed out, an important partnership linking the city government, the county government is playing a role, the federal government is playing a major role, the university, educational system is playing a role, the non-for-profit groups are playing a role, and in each of those things you're seeing an example of how things can work to improve people's lives. And it takes that kind of partnership. It isn't done by one home run that's being hit by one player, but it's a team effort that goes into this. I'm particularly happy to be here with my county hat on first as Westchester County Executive. I have that responsibility for another 30 days. But I'm very honored to be here with our Commissioner of DSS, Leonard Towns, who's done a magnificent job in handling the most complicated department of county government with people in the greatest need and a workforce that is constantly under pressure to deal with the people with that need. And Leonard is very much a partner in all of these things, and the rest of his team members who are here. And Tom Kleiner, who heads our Westchester and Putnam workforce effort based here. So it's happy to be putting in this location this initiative as well side by side, because people that are looking to advance a career are also looking to have stability in their lives. And for them and the other people in this room that represent county government, these are human beings. These are people. These are people who work hard. I think sometimes those of us who serve in government get a rap. I spent 20 years in a corporate career in the mix of things that I've done in my life. And sometimes you look at people in government like they're the B or the C students and we're the A students because we're in corporate life. But the commitment to a government career, city, county, at any level, where you care about other human beings, that's your motivation. You're not going to be compensated with a commission check because you sold something above a quota. You're not going to see promotions and transfers come easily. Many times you work until your grade gets uplifted in a slow fashion, but you do it because you're committed to something. And the people in this room are committed to something. And the mayor, most of all, has shown that in her work. When you hear the different funding pieces, and you hear the piece that said the African-American mayors, that's all Sean Patterson Howard. This is her knowing how to influence an important organization that she's part of to invest in this particular program in this particular city. And I know that in the state we have our big 5 cities. Mount Vernon ain't one of them, but Mount Vernon was the first 26 years of my life. So it's big one as far as I'm concerned in all of these things. But the county is happy to be a partner here today and in the months to come. And I know I can speak for Ken Jenkins, who's the Deputy County Executive, a name you know and you'll hear more of in the days to come. He too is deeply committed to this. And you'll see that commitment continue on. And I'm obliged as well to mention your county legislator, David Tubiolo and Tyree Woodson Samuels, who from the legislative side of the county are also committed to these things. It's important to know that the county government is not one person. It's a series of people, decision makers, and that decision to move forward on this is important. Let me mention that after 30 days, when I take on the responsibility of representing this community and a number of others in the Congress of the United States, it's a little daunting to be a 71-year-old freshman. Let me tell you, it's going to be an interesting experience. But the bottom line is, in the dialogue that is ahead, and we'll stay governmental here rather than anything else, in the dialogue that there is ahead, there are people who are talking about cutting federal spending, cut $2 trillion out of the federal budget because it's all wasted. I don't think the mayor of New Rochelle would necessarily say that's going to be a waste. That could, depending on what you cut into the bone of what cities and towns and villages are trying to accomplish. So I think a program like this is an example of what happens when the federal government invests, not spends, invests in something that pays back a dividend. Every person that has a better financial life and moves up the ladder pays taxes in higher proportion to help support that federal government. And so that will be part of the dialogue to come in Washington And I know that these mayors and my friends in county government, even if I leave them behind in the moment, I'm going to be back dealing with them. And things have a way of circling around. When the program was opened by our Deputy Commissioner of Planning and Development, that's where I served 40 some odd years ago as a kid, 23-year-old kid working in that very same department. So things have a way of cycling around. Let me just say on the personal side, I grew up not far from here. If you go up McQuestion Parkway, you take South Street, it becomes Vista Place on the other side of First Street. Vista Place goes down and goes right into South 14th Avenue. My parents' house is right there, the tiniest house in the neighborhood. I don't need a map or an aid to tell me the streets, South Bleecker, South High, South Terrace, Grove Street. Grove Street has a very important part of my life. There's a playground at Grove Street. For those of you who are Mount Vernon folk, you know that street corner basketball is of the highest level in this city than any other place I know. And I'm not down in New Rochelle. You got some good places in New Rochelle, and if YO was in the room, they're gonna say YO, and if Peekskill's in the room, you know. But the way it worked when I was a kid in Mount Vernon, if you had game, you played on 4th Street. 4th Street was the premier street ball. You'd go and you'd look, because the guys who were playing were all gonna play, at minimum, Division I college basketball, and I went to high school with a number of different NBA players who were friends of mine then and became famous people. If your game wasn't exactly 4th Street, there was Hartley Park. Hartley Park was always seen as the next best place to play hoop after 4th Street. They would send me to Grove Street. Grove Street in those days, I'm sure it's better now, Madam Mayor, Grove Street had no nets, right? It had the metal ring. So when you missed, you hear clang as the ball was bouncing back for a rebound. So I know the neighborhood pretty well. And I also know an experience that I had growing up. Graduated Mount Vernon High School a few years before Sean graduated. And I graduated, I had a good record, you know, good degree, you know, top 50 kids in my class, good academic. I studied medieval studies, and I studied algebra and geometry and trigonometry and calculus. And then within the first few years of my being out of college and after high school and college, I moved out of my parents' house. I lived over right near Davis on Overlook Street. I found that for all I knew, I didn't know how to manage my money. How many, don't raise your hand, how many of you got your first credit card and blew it sky high? You know inside yourself, right? I'm admitting it publicly. This will come up at a future election, no doubt. But I blew it. I thought it was free money. And when I went to my father, who was a very wise man, blue-collar guy, worked with his hands all his life, he said, "Don't expect me to help you out, son. You got into it, learn your way out of it." And I did. Got a second job and yada, yada, got through it. Learned a lot from that experience. What I also learned is that because you have academic, you made this point, but I want to reemphasize, because you have academic experience does not mean you have real-world experience. And real-world experience includes financial management, and it's complicated. Learning how not to overspend a credit card is like a baseline education. When you sit and look at your life and you realize that you will be obliged to pay rent, you will be obliged to pay a Con Edison bill, nowadays a cell phone bill, and insurance on your car, and bop, 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 and all of a sudden that paycheck that you're getting is spoken for up to just a little bit of discretionary money. That's where the second job came in. And this kind of education has to be intrinsic if people are going to rise. And they have to learn it early so they don't dig the hole and then spend time digging out of the hole. And what there wasn't as much then, 50 years ago when I was in college, as there is now, is the predatory element of this, where people make money off of what your bad decisions you're going to make, and it's profitable to them. And they don't care, because once they repossess your car and your house and all that stuff, that's profitable to them. And they're not worried about you. That's why this is so important. And it's here in Mount Vernon, but it's available to people from anywhere that can get here. We have a Beeline bus system, continually free in the summer, we hope, as we go forward. And people will find their way down Mount Vernon Avenue right here from a host of other little places to use this service. And it will take time. It will take word of mouth, because that is more important than any other media outlet. When somebody says, you should go over there, they help me, they can help you, that will mean more than seeing a website or a Facebook post, because people will trust people that they know and like, and that will bring them here. And they have to see people helping them who look like them. That will give the confidence necessary for this to be successful. I have every sense this will be successful. But if I could blow my early finances as a young man, anybody can. And the message is now there's a tool, and the tool is well placed here, and we're happy to be a partner. I know that our next speaker, the president of Mercer University, is going to add the dynamic that's necessary here, which is the trained people who can actually help us do those things. And once we make the commitment of space and time, then it's the quality of the people that are brought to us here to be able to do that. I don't know if I'm going to introduce Susan or if somebody else is, but Madam President, the president of Mercer University. Thank you, ma'am.
Well, good morning, everyone. At Mercer University, we have D2 basketball, and there's a game tonight, actually, but I think we need to do a little bit of recruiting on 4th Street here. But good morning. It's such a pleasure to be here to celebrate just a truly wonderful opening of the Mount Vernon Financial Empowerment Center. And I'd like to just begin my remarks from a place of real gratitude. First, gratitude to Mayor Patterson Howard. Your leadership is why we're all here today. Your vision of what Mount Vernon can be and how families can be empowered to, to build the skills that they need to support their families and to live great lives is why we're here. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to partner with you. I don't like following him because he's a great storyteller and I am a professor, but I also am grateful to Congressman-elect Latimer. So excited you're representing us, honestly. I think that we all, well, I'm not supposed to talk politics, so I better just leave it there, but we're grateful for your service, yeah. Yeah, we're going to need someone who's fighting for our cities and our universities. There's no doubt. So financial education is at the heart of how we build strong communities, and I'm incredibly proud that Mercer University can contribute expertise and energy to this effort. Managing the Financial Empowerment Center represents a deepening of Mercy's commitment to the neighborhoods that we serve and have served for almost 75 years. As an institution, we see Mercy not just as educators, but as true community partners, true community resources. We believe in equipping individuals with the tools that they need to succeed. And this initiative it's exactly what we should be doing. It's so directly tied to our mission because it's providing a direct avenue that will make that happen. The programming and coaching that's offered by the Financial Empowerment Center will be truly transformative, not just for the residents of Mount Vernon, but throughout Lower Westchester. And when individuals and families have the tools to manage their debt, to build wealth, to create sustainable budgets, they can plan for their futures, they can support their families, and they can turn themselves to building their community as well. And they're better prepared, frankly, to weather the challenges that we all know come along in everyone's lives. I do want to take a moment to recognize our incredible staff who work at the Financial Empowerment Center, and I'd like to ask them actually to stand and be recognized. Manager Ashley Britton and Counselor Adenike Egunjob. You, never a doubt there, never a doubt. These ladies are on the front lines supporting and empowering residents with the knowledge and tools that they need to take charge of their financial futures. We're here because of their great work, because of their deep commitment to supporting this initiative, and I'm personally grateful to both of them. And we are so thrilled that Mercy can play a role in this vital work. It is together in partnership with partners, with neighbors, and with this community that we can build a foundation for financial stability and economic opportunity. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to be part of something that is truly great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. People have stood here and said, thank you to Mayor Howard for your vision and for your passion, right? But sometimes our vision and our passion are built out of our reality. And people see me now as mayor, but they didn't see Sean, who lived on South 3rd Avenue with her single mother in her grandparents' house, who shared a bedroom with my mom until I was 8. And it was in sharing that bedroom with my mom that I would see her come home every other Friday after work, you know, and you'd get the treat every other Friday. What was every other Friday, y'all? And what's payday? So you got the little payday treat on every other Friday. But every other Friday, I also saw her come home and pull out a manufacturer's Hanover Trust paper envelope where you cashed your check, right? You went to the bank and you cashed your check and you left some money in the bank, but a lot of your transactions were in cash. And so she always brought home a portion of cash at that time. And I watched her sit on the bed and kind of wipe her brow, pray, nod her head, okay, God, as she was putting money in piles. Okay, this is what I have to do for Ren, or this is what I have to do for Sean's after-school programs or activities. This is the food money, right? How many of your parents put money in envelopes because you went to the supermarket with cash, right? And the cash you had in the envelope was what you spent when you went to the supermarket because you didn't have a debit card. Right? And so there's sometimes that I get nervous about the relationship that we've lost with cash, because when you don't have a relationship with cash anymore, then it's easy to sit there and just use the card to swipe. And as I was raising my daughter Nia, when Nia was about 3 years old, she said, Mommy, I want some light up shoes. And my husband and I, we had jobs, but they were, you know, modest jobs, and we were coming out of college. I was working in human services. And I said, Nia, we have to save up some money. She says, I'll sell some M&Ms or something, but I want my light up shoes. And then she told me, Mommy, just go to the bank and put the card in the wall and get some money, right? And I realized back then that I had to teach my child at a very young age how to manage her money, because there are generations that we've had now, 2 or 3 generations of young people who have grown up looking at us putting money in, you know, putting a card in a slot and getting money out, or using a card to swipe, and not understanding that there is real cash that needs to be behind that money. And some of our adults have forgotten, because they'll just swipe. You know, during COVID, I never saw so many Amazon deliveries and crab leg deliveries coming for people who couldn't pay their gas and their electric and their phone bill in my life. Right? So we've lost our connection with cash. We've lost our connection with budgeting. And that's not a judgment. That's just reality. That's reality. And we've gotten to a place where we feel that we are entitled to live the life we want to live. But you have to earn that life by putting some money aside and saving, right? But the only way that can happen is if we take out time to teach people and then give people an opportunity to reset, right? And so, yeah, we don't necessarily want to carry cash always across the streets nowadays because of safety issues, but we have to understand the value of the cash that is behind the cards that we swipe, without thinking and without counting up the costs of what each swipe that we do is connected to. And so here at the Mount Vernon Financial Empowerment Center, we will have those conversations, those critical, not judgmental, because sometimes the conversations have to be tough love. As a social worker, people came to me all the time. They said, I can't pay my rent this month. I was like, let's look at your cable bill. How many channels do you have, and do we need to cut some of them out? Because every $10 cable channel that you add on adds up, right? And how often are you watching Stars? I got Stars because I want to see Power. Well, you know, you also want to buy a chicken for your family. and like, these are hard decisions. These are real decisions. These are real decisions that we have to make, and real conversations we have to love, not out of judgment, but because there's what our reality is versus what our desires are. And so we have to shorten the delta between our reality and our fantasy, right? Yeah, lifestyles of the rich and famous, I have not. And I will be closing a deal on a used 2019 car today because the cost of a new car is too much. And I'm a mayor. And my Michael Kors bag is not Gucci and Fendi all the time. I ain't got nothing against that, but we have to know what we can afford. We can't keep up with the Joneses, and we have to have those conversations, especially when you love people. And people will say, oh, you're being judgmental. No, baby, I just love you that much for you to be a little bit angry at me, to tell you the truth, so that I don't have to get the phone call from you later on going, oh, Madam Mayor, the marshal is coming to my house in 5 days. Please, can you intervene with the police and with the marshal? Because I don't want to be on the sidewalk. These are hard conversations that we as electeds get phone calls about every day. How much are you behind in your rent? $20,000? $10,000, right? So we might be able to bail them out sometime with one-time shot deals from DSS, but then how do we go forward? And so this is a real resource. And it's a resource for those making $250 who want to jump from a 1,500 square foot to a 3,000 square foot house. And you didn't count up the cost of utilities and furnishing it, right? And now you're stuck with a mortgage that's bigger than what you could have ever imagined and some other monthly bills, right? So this is not just for people who are struggling and are making minimum wage, but people who are making good money but haven't always made the best decisions, or life switched, or you got laid off, or there's been health issues in your house and things have changed and now you have mounting health bills that you have to pay. That are taking your money, or you are in a sandwich generation while you're trying to send your kids to college and you're trying to take care of your parents who might need long-term care or home care, right? Because I live in that reality right now too. So this is for everyone. In conclusion, I just want to reiterate again how much Mount Vernon is committed and looks forward to supporting our residents achieve the kind of results that cut their expenses, that help them build their credit and improve their savings, that help them to be able to realize some of their dreams of home ownership, because home ownership is the biggest generational wealth plan that you can have, because then you have something to talk about, how we can have conversations about what we need to do with Big Mama's house and not be afraid to have the conversation about wills and trusts so that our homes are lost and sold off because we haven't made a plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? So these are some of the hard conversations we need to have in our community. I believe that local government truly is the natural place to have these conversations. Local government working with our faith-based organizations, our not-for-profit organizations, our neighborhood associations, our local colleges, our local banks, our civic organizations that many of us are connected to. This is where we want to have the conversations. We want to have these conversations in the barbershops and the hair salons. We want to have them in the pool halls, and we want to have them in the number places, because numbers might help you through a crunch, but how you going to turn the numbers into something generational wealth building, right? So that's, I know I've said more, but I want to thank you so much for attending this event. But I want to go back and also thank Sylvia, who saw the information about the financial navigators from the Cities for Financial Empowerment and came and implemented that, and then Malcolm, who saw the information for universal basic income, and we went out and we were able to give $500 a month for a year to 200 families in Mount Vernon that helped them become stable. You know, and we were judged for that, but these people became stable and they weren't evicted, and some of them were able to skip an overtime shift to go to their children's PTA meeting and stabilize their children in school, and some were able to buy a little hoopty so that they could work a little bit further out and gain more money, earn more money. Others were able to go and have a movie and deal with the emotional wellness of their family because they were always struggling from paycheck to paycheck. And so these are some of the innovative things that we continue to look to do here in Mount Vernon, because we have to build a dignity economy. We have to build a dignity economy. We cannot continue to require people to tell their poverty and their struggle stories just to get assistance. We cannot put people in poverty by saying you have to expend your last dime before you're eligible for help. But we have to meet them where they are. And we have to provide them with services, top-level services from credentialed and certified people in warm, inviting atmospheres without judgment and without repercussion. And that is what we're looking to do here in Mount Vernon. And so thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Marlon, who is our government lead for the FEC here in Mount Vernon. If Sylvia can stand up, Sylvia Bolivar. Our Deputy Commissioner of Planning and Urban Renewal, if Marlon Molina can stand up. He is our government manager for the Financial Empowerment Center and our Deputy Commissioner of Planning and Community Development. They've worked long and hard. Monica, if you could stand up for a minute in the back, because you've worked with us on some of these initiatives too. Monica Hughes, thank you. Steve and Lauren, thank you. If you could stand up for a second. Because they're on our grants management and compliance team, and they're going to be doing the ARPA reporting on all of these projects we've done and have done the grant reporting. And you have to keep good records so that you can continue to gain the confidence of your funders to let them know that you are utilizing the money for the ways in which it was intended. And just thank you all for being here today. If any of you in the room are partners of this initiative, can you please stand? Partners, are you partners? Are you community partners? Are you? Isn't PCSB a partner? You know, Westchester Community College, Urban League, y'all are partners, right? Y'all just don't want to stand, okay. So no problem. With that being said, we're going to open the floor for any questions that you might have. And I'll ask for Mercy University to come and stand with us, and the Career Center. Marlon, do we have any questions? Going once, going twice. Yes. There is an FEC in New York City. We could provide you with that information. And, you know, I know the Northern Bronx might be a little closer to us. I'll give Vanessa a call and like, you want to invest? Because right now we have investments from Westchester, which allows us to open it up to Westchester residents. But let's look at it and have a conversation, because we want people to be able to access it. And if not us, then, you know.
Yeah, I think you had it right. We do have a relationship with the New York City FECs. So if someone's here, we'll make a referral and we know where their offices are. So.
Absolutely. And well, I mean, you know, the primary investment is Mount Vernon. I'm going to be real clear. So we're not trying to run all the way up county. Unless the county wants to make a larger investment. But we also, before you came in the room, I believe, we talked about the fact that counseling sessions are also available on Zoom, right? And so that causes people not to have to travel so far, but we don't want to expend the budget trying to send the counselors, you know, too far up county for one-on-ones, maybe some more group things, but we have our county executive.
Let me address that, because the reality.
He got his hand in his pocket.
For this kind of, your hand or mine?
I figure you're pulling something out. I don't have to stick my hand in.
For any service in Westchester County to work, it has to be regional. We have DSS offices in Peekskill and Yonkers and Mount Vernon for a reason. So it's not realistic for us to think that this center is going to serve Peekskill, Ossining, or Portchester and so forth. But the success of this center over the course of some period of time, if we can attract Yonkers, New Rochelle, Mount Vernon, which is the heaviest population base of need here, then we're in a position to go back and justify additional revenue that could then justify
Certainly a Peekskill Ossining corridor
Yes.
office would make sense. And, you know, White Plains people like to do it in White Plains. So, but we would see that. But I think it's not so much that we expect people from other parts of the county to come here. It's let's see how much of a success this can become, and then it becomes a basis for replicating it in other parts of the county.
We love replication and duplication. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you all for coming. You know, we're going to be here for a little bit afterwards so we could network, and if you have any other questions, please share that with us. As we said, please visit mountVernonFEC.org online. Please take advantage of the phone number that we have here, and thank you to our new counselors. Now, what our president didn't share is we do have one open position available. We are looking to hire another person. This is funded to have 3 financial empowerment counselors, and really because we talked about equity and wanting to make sure that we are reaching those we need to reach, we understand that we have a significant Spanish-speaking population, you know, in our region, and so definitely looking for a Spanish-speaking counselor. And we can work with that person to get them trained and certified because we want to be able to provide these services in multiple languages. You know, that can also reach some of our Portuguese population. And so that is important. And the other benefit of being a staffer through Mercy University, because it's also about building their generational wealth also, is instead of Mount Vernon hiring the people, we partnered with Mercy, and Mercy has, when you're a Mercy University employee, there are also tuition benefits, right? And so whoever will take on this job, please, if you know of someone who is Spanish speaking and has, you know, some financial background, and we can train them, and they're also looking to go back to school and pursue higher education or another degree, this might be a really, really great opportunity for them as well. So thank you so much.